Look. Hello. I'm so excited. Welcome everybody. I don't know what I come from Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and my home group is Full Measures group in Cedar Rapids, and I was really stoked when Brad asked me at Northwest FOTS last year to help with his committee and be the workshop chair, and I'm super excited, and I'm really excited about this panel. It's going to be so great. Okay. All right. This says do not read aloud. Oops. Okay. I think I was supposed to read the first half of this page before this meeting right now, and I didn't read it, so I'll have to make amends later for that. Okay. So let's see here. All right. Sorry about that. We already did the prayer, right? Okay. So as a reminder, this is a family-centered conference. We ask that you refrain from using profanity while sharing. Brendan. Also, the first two rows have been reserved for those with mobility restrictions. Please be respectful and do not sit in or have seats saved in the first two rows. Welcome to the First Step workshop. I'm super excited to start us off. We have my home group member from Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and she's our Area 52 delegate. And I guarantee you that she is a real alcoholic. And this is Julie S.
Julie, alcoholic, Area 24. I think 52 is where the aliens come from. I'm not sure, but it's the same thing. So yeah, Julie Shaw, alcoholic. My home group is Full Measures group in Cedar Rapids. Can you guys hear me? Am I close enough? This feels awkward. Let me know if I'm not close enough. Still not close enough? Is that better? Okay. Okay. So I'm going to try to ignore the mic in front of me here. Thank you, Erica, for asking me to speak today. I'm going to talk on the physical allergy, and I have a lot of experience with doing this stuff wrong. So I think that's why that's what I have to offer you, is how to not do AA. And I was born, my parents were both sober members of Alcoholics Anonymous. So I was 6 when my dad started taking me to AA meetings. I was 17 the first time I came to you guys. So there's some expectation that I should know what an alcoholic is. And honestly, I didn't really get that, you guys, until I was 50. And part of it is I didn't, I really understood alcoholism to be, when I drank, I did it badly, and my life was unmanageable when I was drinking. And there was really a period of time in my community when that was supported. So I was whining to Janet about this earlier, as we would really go to meetings, and there would be a lot of nice ladies there, and it was like I quit drinking and all is grand. And I didn't understand why, when I quit drinking, nothing was grand. And I understood that first part, right, that what I had a core belief about myself for as long as I can remember was that I was a natural born screw up. I'll use that word since not swearing. I didn't know about that. Anyway, because I gave myself permission to swear as much as I wanted when I turned 60. So I'm well into that, but still really enjoy that benefit. So I was a natural born screw up with just a couple of random successes. That randomly I had some successes. And I didn't understand My relationship with God was, I didn't understand a God that would put somebody like me on the planet. I didn't buy into the whole alcoholism as a disease. I just thought that's what you tell yourself when you need an excuse for bad behavior. So I'm going to... In the doctor's opinion, when he talks about it didn't satisfy us to be told that we were outright mental defectives, it was like, that actually was, I was satisfied with that. That's what I was an outright mental defective. And I didn't understand the solution that you guys were offering because I didn't understand what alcoholism was. I'm going to take a drink here. What I believed with the physical allergy was that I was born without a governor. Was that when I started drinking, I didn't have a governor to stop me. So when I was little, my dad had, I had dirt bikes that my dad got for me and my brother, and he had them governed at about 15 miles an hour. And I knew that I just didn't have that ability with alcohol or with a lot of things. And I didn't understand that as being part of alcoholism. I just thought it was something that I was inherently born with that was wrong. But when I finally got to you guys and got a hold of somebody who could tell me the truth about alcoholism and went through the doctor's opinion for the first time, because I never went through the doctor's opinion before, because I was never sponsored before. I had 10 years of sobriety from 79 to 89. I wasn't sponsored because at the time sponsorship was somebody that a sponsor was somebody you called when you had a bad day. My mom was in the program. I didn't need somebody to call when I had a bad day. You work the steps by going to 12 and 12 meetings, and Erica can attest. This was the culture, and at a month shy of my 10-year chip, I went into a meeting. I left, and the thought was, you overcorrected. Everybody drinks and drugs like that when they're teenagers. I think you're fine. And my response was, yeah, I'm fine. I think I'm fine. And I wasn't fine. And I had a precipitous drop-off, and I spent another 20 years trying to get back with you guys, never hearing a message. I would put together... I became a master at other ways to manage my alcoholism besides hearing what you had to say. And finally, at a point, when everything that I thought I needed to be okay, because I really felt like my problem was external stuff, and I had a lot of counselors to support that. But when I finally got to a point where I looked at my life and everything I thought I needed to be okay was there, and all I wanted to do was go get trashed, the thought came that was not of myself, and it was, the problem is not your life, the problem is that you're in it. And I knew that to be the truth. And it is still the truth today, you guys. My life is perfectly fine if you take me out of it. It's almost perfect if I'm not in it. And but I didn't know. I had long since stopped believing that AA could be useful for somebody like me, and not that I just felt like I was one of those people who couldn't get AA. And so I made a decision to go out on one last binge and not come back. And that's what I did. I got my mom buried. She had been on hospice. After I went out and with every intention just to drink myself to death, and at 3 months, I hadn't succeeded. It was... honestly, at that point, and it took that to get me back to you, to a point where I was willing to hear what was being said. And through God's grace, I got hooked up with a sponsor that was actually carrying a message. I was willing to get a sponsor for the first time. And the first 2 women that I asked to be my sponsor said no, thank God. And then I was finally connected with somebody who walked me through the book. And in the doctor's opinion for the first time, I heard that, right, where it was... to leave out the physical part of this would be an incomplete picture. And in talking about that, I started piecing together, laying my experience up against what the big book was saying, and it landed. And I wish I wasn't such a slow study, you guys, but I am. And for me, what it looked like was drink 1.5, 2.5, and a switch would go off, and game was on. I'm drinking, and I just felt like that was again a lack of a governor. But that's my physical allergy. I drank like that the first time I drank, so I don't know what it's like to drink socially. I don't know what it's like to drink any differently. Frankly, I don't know what it's like to do a lot of things differently. But that is the piece that I know kicks it off in me, and I'm drinking until something has to stop me. In sobriety, you guys, as long as I don't drink, I'm not up against that. But the piece that Brandon will talk about when I'm done is I have to watch out for that on a lot of other levels. If anything makes me feel better, that's not spiritual work, I run the risk of that being the same thing, where it'll flip a switch and I'll think, this is good, game is on. I don't know what that is, but what I know it's not anymore is I know it's not the product of some God that just created people like me for a laugh, because that's really what I thought it was. And the reason I want to share this is because that was that piece that opened everything up for me. Because what I absolutely believed was when I was drinking, I was free and I was okay. And then I would sober up because I needed to sober up. I had kids. I was trying to go to work, and I'm not one who can drink and work. I wasn't one who could drink and do anything but drink. I wasn't a functional drunk on any level at any time of my life ever. And so I would quit drinking with difficulty because I had to, and I felt like I was getting tossed into a cage. And I'd just be on this hamster wheel, going to work, doing what everybody told me to do. I'm fine, slowly losing my mind until eventually I just had to drink again, and I'd feel like I was getting set free, and I would start destroying everybody who was stupid enough to care about me. That's what I thought. That was the God I thought I was up against, was somebody who would create somebody like me without a solution. And once I finally was given the truth, and please stick around and please keep giving the truth, because there's still a lot of non-truth being told out there for people like me, that once that piece was finally in place, it started unlocking everything else. There was a whole nother piece that had to get unlocked, and that was what I'm really up against between my ears. But finally knowing is the label of natural born screw up with a couple random successes fell away, and what I know is I'm just a born alcoholic, and not of the moderate or hard drinker variety, you guys. And I need you, and I need these messages to keep being told, and I'm so grateful that I stayed alive long enough to get to you, because it was close. When I stumbled back into these rooms almost 13 years ago, I was 30 pounds lighter than I am now, so you can imagine how good looking that was, and barely alive. And you know, I'll let you do it.
There you go.
Okay. All right.
Do you want this one?
Do I want that one? Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Got it?
Yeah. So I think I'm going to wrap it up with that. I'm so grateful for Fellowship of the Spirit. I'm so grateful that, again, I stayed alive long enough for the message to be brought into Cedar Rapids. Thanks to you guys bringing it to people like Eric, Mike, and Erica. And we have a real responsibility to continue that, you know. So anyway, with that, I love you, and I will pass.
All right. Thank you so much, Julie. And thank you. And I forgot to read the step. I was supposed to do that. Sorry. Let me read that real quick. Step 1, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. And to speak on the mental obsession, I've got Brendan D. from Washington.
My name's Brendan. I'm an alcoholic. My sobriety date is October 18th, 1991. My home group is Posse on Broadway. Meets Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. in Seattle. Sorry. I was just looking at Brad back there because I did something to him when he was speaking at Northwest Fots. I was just seeing if he was going to do it to me. But he's not, thank God. I won't leave you hanging. I was in the very back, and he got up to say, "Hi, I'm Brad, an alcoholic," and I lifted my shirt up like this in the back, and he just stopped talking for a minute. It was great. And to shut Brad up is an amazing feat, so I accomplished that. Anyway, so I was looking for it. I was like, uh-oh. Anyways, and my sponsor's name is Kenny D. He's in Seattle. He knows I'm his sponsee, and I just read inventory to him. We're current. Except for about an hour ago, I got more inventory. Wouldn't you know? It just kind of keeps happening. You people. Anyways, no, I'm just kidding. So I'm going to read a little bit out of the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, and then I'm going to share a little bit on my experience when I came in here, kind of what happened, and then I'm going to share a little bit of current experience. We might get to that. I don't know. We'll see. We'll just see what happens here. But I wanted to read on, let me flip to that page. So, I'll just touch base really quick. I mean, we talked about the physical allergy, that happens once we take a drink. But then it talks about, on page 35, it says, "So we shall describe some of the mental states that precede a relapse into drinking, for obviously this is the crux of the problem. What sort of thinking dominates an alcoholic who repeats time after time the desperate experiment of the first drink? Friends who have reasoned with him after a spree which has brought him to the point of divorce or bankruptcy are mystified when he walks directly into a saloon. Why does he? Of what is he thinking?" And then at the very end of more about alcoholism, it says here, "Once more, the alcoholic at certain times has no effective mental defense against the first drink. Except in a few rare cases, neither he nor any other human being can provide such a defense. His defense must come from a higher power." And on 24 at the top, it talks about even the most powerful desire to stop drinking is of absolutely no avail. So it says over and over and over again, right in there and that. My experience was this, is that when I came into Alcoholics Anonymous, I did not know that's what was going on with me. I really I was attached to my feelings a lot, and how I was feeling and how you were pissing me off and the world wasn't right, and it just seemed to not be going very well anywhere I looked. And then I was being sent to Alcoholics Anonymous, and I didn't think I belonged there either because there's all these old people talking about burning down marriages and houses and jobs and all that, and I was just a young punk kid, and I never had any of those things yet. So I didn't feel like I related. They started to talk about later when I hooked up with my sponsor from a group kind of like this, from Fellowship of the Spirit. It was actually this guy named Don Aurora. Of course, most of you know him. But when he came up and he started talking about what happened, though, Brendan, before you drank again. You went to treatment and you got out, but what happened when before you drank again? And I sat there and I said, "Well, I don't know, man." And he goes, "That's right." And that's the end of that story, right? Like literally, all this stuff I would say and all the drama and all this stuff, the end of that whole thing, the big aha moment was, I don't know. And I think it's very hard for a lot of us to get there. We pursue it in the gates of insanity and death because we got these great ideas. If I just do this, if I just arrange my sobriety a certain way, if I just go to certain meetings where I belong to certain things, where I talk to certain people, if I have the right sponsor, if I have that guy, certainly he's like, this extra credit AA guy, and I will definitely get sober with that guy, right? If only Brendan sponsored me, man, I'd be all good. No one ever said that. I'm just throwing it out there. So maybe Randy can back me up. I don't know, man. Anyway, but the thing is that, this obsession would happen. And I wouldn't realize an obsession because how it shows up is this. I would be at my house, and I used to do, whatever it was, keep myself busy, doing other things so I wouldn't go drinking. And what ended up happening is that at some point in my mind, this decision would happen, and that's what I thought. I thought it was a decision. I changed my mind. I'm going to now go out with my friends and hang out, but I'm not going to drink. And I'm going to show them how good this sober life is, and they're going to wish they were me. That never happened once. They will back that up. They did not want what I had. And because I didn't have AA, I didn't have a solution that worked in my life. I didn't have freedom from alcoholism. What I had was an untreated alcoholic that would go, and I was just doing busy, didn't have an active sponsor, wasn't working the steps, hadn't done anything. I was visiting AA, and I was a maniac. I'd take over meetings, be hostage, be like, I'm Brandon alcoholic, and I got resentments, because they talk about the 4-step, but like, I got resentments, just spitting out my neck, all this anger. It's like, keep coming back, and Lord have mercy, please, somebody help this boy, and he's in treatment, 50-day reprieve maybe, and then I get out, like, I'm back, Anyways, sorry, man. So I'd go to these parties, and I'd be there, and I'd be pumping the keg, but here's the thing, and I'd be like, I'd be miserable. They would wear off that first welcome and hello and that camaraderie, and you're there, and all your buddies like, dude, so good to see you, man. You're still sober. Yeah, man, high five, and I'm so happy for you. You're sober. Yeah, sober. They'd be drinking, and I'd be like, all right. That was about 5 seconds of happiness. And then what would happen is that obsession would happen, and I'd be like, you know what? The only thing missing here, Brandon, they're having a good time, and you're not. And then all of a sudden, I'd find myself, I was pumping the keg because I was trying to be of service and filling everyone's cups. I'm a giver, and eventually what happens, that thing would just all of a sudden, and that's the language of alcoholic. All of a sudden, that hose is in my mouth, and I'm pulling, and everyone would just do this, and they'd give me a moment because they could see like Brendan's drinking, and I was a fighter back then. I'm not now, but I had a bad reputation about that stuff, and I would just launch at people, and so they didn't want to be the receiving end of that, and so they just let me drink for a minute. And then that alcohol would hit, and I'd be good again. And it would just just take that off me. And I could breathe, and I could just be there with them, and there was no more separation between me and them. I was with them, and we were kicking it up, and we were having a good time. We're throwing logs on the fire. We're just going ballistic. But the problem is that I really believe that I changed my mind. What happened is that alcoholism that dwells within here, this weird, strange mental blank spots, they call it. And it says, parallel to our sound reasoning, there's this insane idea that wins out. And that's exactly what I just experienced in that story. I literally believed that I was just going to go hang out. I literally thought I changed my mind. I thought I decided to go there. But what happens is I'm being driven by this obsession of alcoholism. It doesn't give me the end result and say, hey, you're going to go drinking, because I'd be like, whoa, my God, I better do something, It just, by little degrees, like, hey, just call John, man. See, he might be, maybe he hasn't gone. Just hang out. I mean, dude, you're just going to hang out. There's no big deal. And this story starts to build in my head. And that's the problem, is this story builds up, and I start to believe it. And I go right with it, because it emanates from my own mind. I have no defense. If that's what's going on in Brendan, my alcoholism could change my thinking and steer me over here. And suddenly, there's no suddenly, I find myself drinking. Over and over, I repeat this. And until so I'm beyond human aid, is that last part, once more the alcoholic, right? At the end of more about alcoholism. I am beyond human aid, meaning there's no more power in you that can save me, and I can't save you as far as making you see this, or making you sober. But for some strange reason, if I join with you and I start to do these steps, I start to uncover the truth about my condition. I start to see what it is, and I understand what's going on, not just intellectually, but I start to have a spiritual exercise where I start to have this awakening. And I come to the other side of this, and I'm like, oh my God, one, I got bad news. I'm screwed. But two, I got a solution. And thank God I got a solution, Alcoholics Anonymous. Because if you just came in here and you're like, hey, you're screwed, and that's it, the end, that's not a good thing. That's what the court's telling me. That's what the psychologist told me. That's what everyone else told me. And they're just like, man, try what you can, Brendan, but good luck. You know, and I would have been like 1,000,000 trillion other people, alcoholics out there, legions of us that go to death. I don't know about you, but I buried a lot of people being around here. A lot of people who believe that story and believe that, you know what, I've got my life, I'm good, I don't need this. And they go off and they think they choose. They think they decide. And I just look and I go, well, we'll see. And I wish them well. I don't make them feel bad. Like, you can't leave. I'm like, you know what, maybe you can, man. And then I pray my rear off for them. There we go. That was pretty good. That's pretty good for Brendan, who used to say every other word was an F word when I got in here. So, and that wasn't friends. I will tell you this. How much time do I got? I don't know where I'm at right now. Oh, I got 5 minutes. Perfect. I can do a lot in 5. Anyways.
Take some of mine.
Take some of mine. Oh, man. Nope. So I will say this, like, that's about the drinking game and all that. So in the last, literally, I'm telling you, I'm actually in a good mood. But I want you to know Alcoholics Anonymous gave me this where I'm standing right now. The house is burning down around me. I mean, literally, I was laughing. Brad and I were saying, you know, Kate, we're all in a house together, and Tony and Liz and Alex, we're all in this big house. We're hanging out. And I'm just like, my life is burned to the ground. I'm like, in 1 week, literally, before I came, Eric asked me weeks ago to do this. And I'm like, sure, I'll do that. Thinking, oh, yeah, I can talk about that. And literally on last Thursday, a week ago, my relationship ended. You know, I was engaged, and it's brutal. And then, you know, and at times, I mean, it's a hard stab. But and then my company I was working for, I was like, this doesn't look good. You know, they're downsized, and now they decided to do like 50% cut of the company, and I'm like, oh, that's not good. Like, they're just gonna blaze a trail here. And so I got a call literally like an hour ago outside, and I'm like, oh, I know what this call is. Hi, Brendan. Unfortunately, you know, I'm like, no problem, Amy. I love you. I'll support you guys. So I'm going to finish up. So I'm totally cracked. I got money in the account. I'm okay. But I'm looking at my life, and I'm looking around. I'm going, you know, if this was years ago, I would have just been freaking the heck out, you know. But I'm in a place where I just feel like this place of neutrality. And it's not like, not bewildered. I'm not like, oh my gosh, and freaking out. But it's a much different reaction for me. But there are some inventory items that I have written, and I've read that inventory. And then there's some more inventory. I was just talking to my buddy Jeff G, about some more stuff we're going to do. So when I get back, he and I are going to start talking and meeting around some ideas about, you know, and it's weird. It's like we have these stories, we have these things about us. It's like I'm 31 years sober, and there's some ideas about me, and I don't know, you know, I will say this, that there's some huge chunks of truth I handled early on in sobriety. And there's some other chunks of truth that I'm starting to see now. And I think we kind of get these things when we're ready or prepared for them, you know, and that's where I'm at right now. I'm like, hey, man, I'm open, you know, but I got a place to go. I just took care of the things I need to do. You know, kids are good. That's the big thing in my life. And I already have people talking to me about jobs. You know, it's like I'm going to be okay. But the obsession, what I could do is I could easily have reacted to these things, you know, in a horrible way. I could have easily made this so much worse by basically any other action than but what I took. Acceptance, you know, I hate that page in that book. God dang, I hate that. Acceptance is the key. And I'm like, shut up, Dr. Paul O. You know, I met that guy. I had him sign my book and everything. It was early sobriety. It's right here. He was Dr. Paul O. Anyways, and what an idiot, you know, and I'm not saying Dr. Paul, I'm saying I'm the idiot, you know, like, you signed my book, you know. Anyways, so, God, I'll say that unless they accept my story in the big book, then I'll sign your big book. No, just kidding. Totally joking, I didn't submit it. Anyways, no. But I will say this, that, you know, we see those big chunks of truth, but that acceptance thing, it is. I come to a point in my life where I'm just like, This is the reality I'm left with. I can't do anything. All right, well, I'm going to have to accept this. It doesn't feel good. I don't like it. I wish it was different, but this is what it is. And if I can't change it, what am I doing other than just I need to accept this? My space between the point where I'm like, oh, my God, to, all right, this is happening, has gotten a lot closer. I still feel the feelings. I still get upset. I still cry. I spent 48 hours of just sobbing, let me tell you. It still chokes me up a bit, Whew. But, 1 second. But I will say this. Just like the obsession of alcohol that is lifted from my being, it's still there. That obsession of alcohol can return if I don't stay in fit spiritual condition. I have to do this. So I immediately wrote inventory, immediately read it to my sponsor. I immediately took action. It's funny. I've been asked to speak at a couple things. I literally was speaking like that Sunday after that Thursday happened. And I was like, I don't know what's going to happen here, but all right, here we go. And just away we went, And it wasn't a distract. I felt the feelings like I'm doing now. But that obsession is left. Thank you. And so what's going on in here is that I know I'm going to be okay. I know without a doubt that I have a new employer, I have a new director, I got a new boss, and this isn't going to be any big deal for him to take care of. So thank you.
Okay. And now we have one of my favorite people to talk about unmanageability and the bedevilments, Marilyn B. from Colorado.
Hi. I'm Marilyn B., and I'm a grateful member of the Worldwide Fellowship of Al-Anon and Alateen. And it is such an honor to be up here. We did an Al-Anon meeting before this on our own conception of God. And I got to tell you guys, anytime I get to get up in front of you at Fellowship of the Spirit, is this better? Okay. How's that? Okay. I'm going to try. I have to see my book, too. Anytime I get up here and look out at your faces, I see the face of God. If I don't have a concept of who my God is, I can come here and look out at this audience, and I know there's something bigger than I am that's taking care of me and protecting me and walking the path with me, side by side. So I was asked to speak on the bedevilments, and I want to tell you a little bit about what led up to this. For the past month, people have been asking me, have you been asked to do anything at FATS? And, I've been told not to lie. So I would say, no, but don't tell anyone. Yesterday morning, I got a call, and my friend Chris said, would you like, I think these are his words, would you like to be on the first panel on First Step? And he said, I really mean that. You don't have to be. Would you like to do that? And I said, sure, I can do that. And he said, well, we want you to concentrate on the bedevilments and on unmanageability. And I thought, well, isn't this an honor? Chris has asked me to be on the panel on bedevilments. And then I got off the phone, and the little demons started talking. I don't know if any of you have any of those. And I thought, gosh, he just ask the craziest person he knows to come and speak on the bedevilments. So I asked him if he did that, and he texted me back, with about 1,000 dots. No. But notice, he had to think about it. I'm going to read you the bedevilments from the big book. I'm going to talk a little bit about how they have presented themselves in my life. He chose a good person to talk about them because I've had them all. We were having trouble with personal relationships. We couldn't control our emotional natures. We were a prey to misery and depression. We couldn't make a living. We had a feeling of uselessness. We were full of fear. We were unhappy. We couldn't seem to be of real help to other people. And then it goes on to say, was not a basic solution of these bedevilments more important than whether we should see newsreels of lunar flight? There is a part that precedes that in the big book if you want context for what that's about. So, I can't quite get this mic and the book and my glasses and my body all together here. We were having trouble with personal relationships. I know about that. When I came into program, I was 3 months pregnant with my first child. I was in a marriage that wasn't working. There was verbal violence in the marriage. I was not communicative. I didn't even try. And a week prior to that, my father had died by suicide. There was no such thing as a personal relationship. I felt I did not have a friend in the world. I knew that nobody cared about me. And kind of even worse, I really didn't care about anybody else. But I came to a meeting because this lady got in my face at my father's funeral and made me promise to come. That's not the way we recommend doing outreach. But God knew what I needed. I finally said, okay, I'll go to 6 meetings. We couldn't control our emotional natures. There was a lot of screaming in my marriage and in my house. I was consumed with criticizing other people. All of my problems lay outside myself. It was everybody else's fault. I had been wronged. I was a victim. I wanted other people to be different. That's the nature of my disease. When I'm wanting other people to be different so that I can be okay, I am in real trouble. I cried all the time over important things and for no reason at all. I just cried a lot. I was just unhappy. I was unkind to my mother, and she just lost her husband. I didn't really have a workable relationship with anybody. We were prey to misery and depression. A couple different times in my life, I've been diagnosed with clinical depression. I know what it feels like. My fear inventory always includes the possibility that I could go there again. I know what it feels like. I know how to be stuck in it. I know how to talk to other people about it because of my own experience. And somehow, often, that makes it a little easier. I am not currently, that I know of, in clinical depression, and I am extremely grateful for that. What that worked itself into was insomnia. I was sleeping like 2 hours a night. I was mad at everybody, and I never laughed. When I came into Al-Anon, one of the things I told my first sponsor was, I don't remember the last time I laughed. I don't think I know how to laugh. We couldn't make a living. I could make a living. I could go to work. I hated work. I hated everybody at work. I hated the little children I was working with. Well, there were some reasons for that, but some resentment is justified, right? Maybe not. I struggled every day to show up for that job. And as much as I disliked the job, I wouldn't leave it until really late, because going to daycare and picking up my kid and going home to try to be a wife and a mother was even harder. It was even more difficult. We had a feeling of uselessness. I already mentioned I didn't feel anyone cared about me, and I didn't care about anybody. If I disappeared, I didn't even think anyone would notice, except maybe the head of the school when I didn't show up to be at the front of the room in front of 30 little guys. And I even believed it might help others more if I just died. We were filled with fear. I was in fear all the time. I had a fear of falling apart. I had a fear of depression. I had a fear of being a bad wife and a bad mother and a bad friend. I had a fear that I would always feel that way. I could not even imagine not being in that place. We were unhappy. I remember telling my first sponsor, I don't ever remember a time when I was happy, ever. We couldn't seem to be of real help to other people. I was barely making it through the day. It didn't even occur to me to try to help other people. So what happened? Thank God there are more steps. I knew that my life was unmanageable. I had anxiety. I had, is that 3? 5, okay. Irritability. You know all the stuff. I'm going to skip that part because I want to get on to what happens now. What goes on now? I started into an Al-Anon group. There were women with little children in that group. There were women who loved me when I was totally unlovable. We would get together at each other's houses, and none of us had any money. And so we would bring a salad ingredient and dump it in a bowl. The kids ate peanut butter and jelly, and we were there for each other. And we went to meetings, and we had sponsors, and we were sponsored, and we sponsored other people. I started to work the steps. I started into service. I sponsored other people. I was sponsored. And what did I discover? The joy of being with others. I made friends. You know that Stuart Smalley thing? I'm sorry for quoting a person outside of AA and Al-Anon, but I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me. And I started to believe that. I started to laugh. I had a sense of being safe. I didn't have to make people different so I could be okay. I found a higher power I could trust. 10 years ago, when I was diagnosed with breast cancer, I knew that I would have everything I needed in every moment, and I did. I'm going to have hip surgery in September. I'll give you my address if you want to send me gifts. I like that. I believe that I will have everything I need in every moment. I go to meetings. I have a sponsor. I sponsor. I say yes to service. I do a daily 11th step. I do a 10th step when needed, which is frequently. Inventory is a gift, not a burden. Is my life still unmanageable? Yeah, it is. Tough stuff happens. I lost my 44-year-old daughter 3 months ago. The thing I was saddest about was that I couldn't save her. I couldn't make it different. But you know, I loved her right up till the end, and God allowed me to do that. I am being guided through the grief. I feel God's love through others. I am useful and loved, and it's enough. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much to each of our panelists. We still have 5 minutes left, and encourage you to come up to the floor microphones to share your experience with this step. While we value your experience, we do ask that you be mindful of allowing others also to share their experience with us, and perhaps consider only going up to the mic once over the course of the weekend. So the floor mic is open if anybody wants to come up and share their experience on step 1. Chop, chop. We only have 5 minutes. Thank you. Oh, shoot. Thank you.
I'm an event coordinator for a living, so I do this often. Is that one working? Okay. I'll just hold it for now. I'm too nervous. My name is Jen A., and by the grace of God, I'm an Al-Anon. I'm so grateful to be here at 3 o'clock when the doors opened and we ran in. I missed this last year, and I love this fellowship. I love everything that you guys said. Thank you. Thank you for being of service. The bedevilments for me are the 9 questions of unmanageability in my life. And I'll never forget the 2 men that sponsored me and sat next to me at the table and said, start filling these out. What is the unmanageability of your life? That was in another 12-step program that I came to FOTS in. And then I ended up finding Al-Anon in these rooms later. And you know, I too, like you, have unmanageability. I have a 16-year-old daughter who's doing things she shouldn't be doing. It's unmanageable, but God is managing, and I love what you shared at the end. I wrote it down. Thank you. Being guided through the grief, and then I wrote, helps me to get closer to you, God. So if that's why I'm here today at 9,000, 10,000, whatever feet this is, I'm so grateful. I already live at 5280 down in Littleton, so it's like, it's no big deal. I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you, everyone, for putting on this service. Thank you for Fellowship of the Spirit, but thank you, God, for saving a girl like me. And with that, I'll pass.
Still have 2.5 minutes.
Hi, I'm Lisa. I'm an alcoholic. Thank you, everyone. I came to this retreat 7 years ago with my sister. Oh, can you hear me now? No, I don't think it's on. Real close? Good. I came here 7 years ago with my sister Martha. She got me into the program, back into the program. I'd not been drinking for many years, but wasn't going to AA. And she said, I'm going to come out. She'd been sober 2 years. And she said, I'm going to go to the Fellowship of the Spirit. I want you to come with me. And I was like, okay, as long as I don't have to say anything. And I came, and I remember this setup, and it was just what I needed to come back into the program. She died 2 years later, sober. And so she showed me the way back here. So just grateful to be here. Thanks. Thank you.
Anybody? Please remember to clean up the wreckage of your presents and pick up any trash as you exit. By group conscience, the Fellowship of the Spirit does not close each meeting with the Lord's Prayer. Instead, we encourage that this whole conference be treated with an attitude of continuous prayer, and we will then say the Lord's Prayer together at the close of the conference on Sunday. Please stand and help me close this meeting with a moment of silence. Let us share our spiritual experiences and strengths with each other so that we can grow together in greater understanding and love.